Love it or hate it, the first season of Halo has come to an end, with Paramount already renewing the series for Season 2.
Are those sad tissues or happy tissues?
This show has received a lot of controversy, from Master Chief losing his virginity later than I did,
I didn't know that was possible,
to characters who seem totally disconnected from the main storyline. All that aside, we're going to take a deep dive into the ending and explain some of the show's biggest unanswered questions, so charge up your sticky grenades and command your army of penis worms, because here we go. This is Master Chief, the leader of Silver Team, a task force composed of super soldiers called Spartans under the command of the United Nations Space Command. Kind of like our UN, but way cooler. It is said that one Spartan is the equivalent of 100 Marines, so these guys are considered a valuable asset. Chief's real name is John, one of the most generic names you can give, but that's the point. Master Chief isn't supposed to have his own personality, emotions, or even make his own choices. He's supposed to be a mindless killing machine tasked only with following orders. In fact, he and the other Spartans are implanted with hormonal pellets which suppress their emotions. It's ironic then that he's fighting to save humanity when he himself has lost many of the aspects that make him human in the first place. John's transformation into the super soldier began at a young age. Throughout the season, we'll see John unlock memories from his past, memories which were wiped from his mind. Originally, he was told his parents died of a plague on the planet Eridanus II, and then was adopted by Dr. Catherine Halsey for the Spartan program. This was a lie. After touching a mysterious artifact, it unlocks a memory of him being kidnapped as a child. Unbeknownst to his parents, his body was replaced with a clone, one that would die shortly after via deadly seizures. Under Halsey's orders, dozens of children were secretly replaced with these defective clones, so that she could have her pick of young, easy, manipulatable Spartan protégés. On the other side of the galaxy, we have another character who was similarly manipulated and brainwashed at a young age. This is McKee, who as a child saw the cruelty of humanity when she was essentially a slave laborer under UNSC command. It's only when her planet was attacked by the Covenant, an alien race hell-bent on destroying humanity, that it's discovered she's a quote-unquote blessed one, a being capable of activating ancient artifacts that are critical in the Covenant religion. She is brought under the protection of Mercy, the eldest of 3 leaders in the Covenant High Council. Under his tutelage, she learns of the Great Journey, a journey that will lead the Covenant to the Sacred Ring where they will become gods. Of course, the Great Journey can't be completed without a map, and that's where these ancient artifacts known as keystones come in. Analysis of the keystone found on the planet Madrigal reveals them being over 100,000 years old, predating humans and possibly even the Covenant. It's likely that these keystones were created by the Forerunners, an ancient species worshipped by the Covenant. These ring-like installations were created by them as weapons against the Flood, a parasitic alien race. So both McKee and Master Chief have some sort of ancestral connection to the keystones, the two of them the only beings who can activate its power. Even as a child, John drew pictures of the keystones. This is how he knew that 2 keystones needed to be joined together to create the whole, just like how McKee and Master Chief will literally join together while making love. The final episode is called Transcendence, which makes sense considering both the Covenant and Dr. Halsey believe they can transcend their respective species if they are able to get a hold of this sacred ring. Dr. Halsey believes that humanity is deeply flawed and needs to transcend in order to save it from itself.
That's why they need us, Cortana. To save them from themselves.
It's almost as if she wants to make humanity just like her Spartans, devoid of emotion, and she's willing to go to great lengths to do this, even kidnapping and murdering dozens of children, as long as it's for the good of mankind.
You kidnapped, mutilated, and murdered dozens of children.
To save billions more.
Oh, saving humanity at the cost of your own.
Master Chief is stuck between all these competing parties. The Covenant, who want to destroy humanity, the UNSC, who want to control him and the Spartans, and Dr. Halsey, who wants to use the ring for her own twisted idea of how humanity should evolve. When Master Chief initially touches the artifact, it produces a ring which Reth calls a door to the end of life. Both Halsey and Master Chief believe this to be a weapon, one that can be used to defeat the Covenant. Makee was initially sent to the humans as a sort of Trojan horse, tasked with infiltrating the humans and retrieving the keystone they acquired on Madrigal. But when she meets John, the two form a connection, and for a brief moment she joins his side. This is symbolized when she removes the Covenant energy blade she had implanted in her fingernail. But this switching of sides is short-lived when she is brutally tased while in captivity, which conjures images from her past. She has these taser scars from when she was a child, an event which instilled in her hatred for humanity. So she's able to escape with the keystone and make it back to the Covenant. The tragedy of Makee, however, is that for all she's done for the Covenant, they secretly want to rid themselves of her. Whether she realizes it or not, she has no home. Perhaps this is why she so desperately wants to stay on that planet with a sacred ring. The UNSC not only has to deal with Makee escaping, but also Dr. Halsey. You can tell they have top-notch security here. Even though she's eventually apprehended by a Spartan known as Kai, we find out this escapee is actually a clone. This was all a smokescreen so the real Halsey could get off planet. At the end of the episode, we'll see her writing in a journal at the Reach Heritage Site of Manassas, a city on planet Reach which has its own spaceport. In this journal, we can make out what appears to be a brain scan and a drawing of Cortana. Who knows what research and data Halsey smuggled with her and how this will affect Season 2. The finale takes place at a Holy Covenant temple in the Aspero system, a location Master Chief and the Spartans decide to infiltrate via stealth rather than bring in the entire UNSC fleet. Makee had mentioned to Master Chief in a prophecy that the halo was meant to be revealed where the stars sparkle like glass. And it just so happens there's only one place in the Aspero system where gravity warps light in such a way where it sparkles like glass. That's how Master Chief's able to narrow down the location of the Covenant. At the same time, Cortana reveals to Master Chief that Halsey's original plan was for her to completely take over his mind and body. This will become important later on when the Spartans' infiltration is discovered and a giant battle ensues. The Spartans are completely outnumbered. We're talking hundreds to one. Plus, there's this dude who, if we're to believe CG artist Mahmoud Salah, who worked on the animation for him, is Atriox, a big villain in the Halo universe. We first saw him in episode 5 when he steals a keystone from the humans on Erednis 2. Makee sees Chief pummeled by Atriox and, in an effort to save him, touches the fully combined keystone, which sets off an explosive energy blast. More importantly, it reveals a star map with the location to the sacred ring. The full map, however, is incomplete when Makee is shot by Kai, leaving only Master Chief with the ability to activate the stones. This is why the High Council is so pissed when Atriox kills Master Chief, as this would make finding the sacred ring now wholly impossible. And this event may be the beginning of his separation from the Covenant. In the games, Atriox leads a group of Covenant who join forces with the UNSC. With the Spartans on the defensive and their time surely outnumbered, Master Chief is left with only one option: for Cortana to fully take control. Even though Cortana says she may not be able to bring him back, he says he trusts her, which is ironic since in episode 2 he said there was no one he could trust except Dr. Halsey, who Cortana is modeled after. Master Chief flatlines and Cortana takes over, and because John isn't in control of Master Chief anymore, it allows Cortana to pick up the ancient keystone without it going all haywire. With their aircraft acting as a shield, the Spartans are able to make their escape, the keystone intact. And you'll notice from the moment Cortana takes control, Master Chief doesn't have any dialogue, and it will be interesting to see if this continues into Season 2. Kai asks if John is really himself, but is met with no response. We don't know if Cortana will be able to give John control back, and perhaps the only way that's possible is if John is reunited with Halsey. Then there's Makee, whose body was left back at the Covenant Temple. I'm not 100% convinced she's gone for good. After all, in a world where humans can be cloned, it's possible we may see her come back, especially since Halsey had likely done tests on her. But the biggest question mark in all of this comes from a character who we didn't even see in the last episode, Quan Ha, a person whose storyline seemed like it was its own show altogether. The big thread left behind in her story is a portal that was hinted at in episode 7. While on her vision quest of sorts, she is told that she and her ancestors are integral in accessing this well, which is actually a portal fueled by the soil of Madrigal. However, its secrets won't be revealed until Madrigal is safe. With the UNSC still in control of the planet, it may take take Master Chief and the crew to join forces with Quan to access this portal. Just where it leads, we can't be sure. So that is where the show leaves us. Master Chief and the Spartans have the artifact, the UNSC and Covenant are in disarray, McKee is dead, and Halsey on the run. But what did you think of Halo? Does it deserve the hate or a season 2? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everyone. For more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
Find the halo.